Luke Harris, a 19-year-old living in a small town near Denver, was just your typical teenager. He loved basketball, video games, and spent his weekends helping his dad fix cars in their garage. Luke didn't think much about death or anything heavy. He just wanted to make the varsity team next year. That morning, it started like any other. Mom made pancakes. Emma, his little sister, was being annoying, stealing his bacon, and Dad was reading something on his phone about a new rocket launch. Luke thought about how cool it would be to work for SpaceX someday. He grabbed his backpack and headed to school, not knowing it would be the last normal moment of his life. At lunch, Luke bit into what he thought was a regular peanut butter cookie, but something felt wrong. His throat started to close up, he couldn't breathe. The cafeteria spun and he hit the floor hard. Everything went black. Then the strangest thing happened. He wasn't in his body anymore. He was floating above the chaos, watching the school nurse perform CPR on someone who looked like him. Kids were screaming, teachers running around, ambulance sirens blaring louder. But Luke felt something odd. Peace. It was as if he was wrapped in the warmest blanket imaginable. Suddenly, he wasn't in the cafeteria anymore. He was standing in a place that looked like a field of golden grass, but the grass seemed to glow from the inside. The sky wasn't blue or cloudy. It was like looking at pure light that didn't hurt his eyes. And the silence, it wasn't empty silence. It was full of love. That's when he saw him. Jesus was walking toward him, but not like in the pictures at church. He was tall, maybe 6 feet, with dark hair and kind eyes that seemed to see right through him. But it was his smile that struck Luke. It felt like every good memory he'd ever had rolled into one feeling. "Luke," he said, and Luke started crying without even knowing why. "I have been waiting to meet you," Jesus continued. Luke, confused, asked, "Am I dead?" "Your body is resting," Jesus said, "but you're more alive now than you've ever been." Jesus touched Luke's shoulder, and warmth spread through him, like drinking hot chocolate after playing in the snow. All his fears, all his worries about school, friends, and whether he was good enough, all of it melted away. "I have something important to show you," Jesus said. The golden field around them shifted. Suddenly they were standing above Earth, not in space, but somehow able to see everything happening at once. Cities, countries, people going about their lives. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "Do you see the man there?" Jesus pointed, and Luke's eyes were drawn to a figure he instantly recognized, Elon Musk. But he looked different, older. He was standing in a massive control room, surrounded by screens everywhere. "I know him," Luke said. "He's the guy who makes rockets and cars." Jesus nodded, but his expression grew serious. "Luke, I need you to listen carefully," Jesus continued. "This man will soon announce something that will change everything. He believes he's helping humanity, but he doesn't understand the spiritual battle he's about to unleash." Luke watched as the scene shifted. Elon Musk was speaking to a room full of people, holding up something that looked like a small computer chip. "He's going to offer humanity a way to connect their minds directly to machines," Jesus said. "He calls it helping people, making them smarter, curing diseases." But Jesus's tone shifted, and Luke could sense the gravity in his words. "What Elon doesn't see is what's really behind this technology," Jesus continued. The room around Elon began to fill with dark shadows, figures that weren't quite human, but weren't animals either. They whispered in his ear, and he nodded as if he could hear them. "Those are demons," Jesus said quietly. "They've been planning this for decades. They want to convince people to willingly open their minds to something that will separate them from me forever." Luke felt sick as he watched. "But he seems like a good guy," Luke said. "He wants to help people get to Mars and save the planet." "Many people with good intentions become tools in the enemy's hands," Jesus replied. "Elon truly believes he's saving humanity, but pride has blinded him to the spiritual reality. He thinks technology can solve what only I can heal." The scene shifted again. Now, Luke could see millions of people lining up at clinics and hospitals, eager to get these brain chips. They looked excited, like they were getting the newest iPhone. Luke's heart raced as he watched the millions of people line up to receive the brain chip. They were all eager, excited, waiting in long lines like they were about to get the latest technology, the newest iPhone. But something felt off. The excitement in their eyes wasn't for progress or for innovation. It was something darker. Jesus turned to him, his expression serious, but filled with compassion. "Do you see what I mean, Luke?" Jesus asked, his voice soft but powerful. "This is the choice they'll soon face. They'll be offered a way to enhance their minds, to connect to machines, and they'll believe it will make their lives better, but they won't see the cost." Luke nodded slowly, trying to understand. "What's the cost?" Jesus didn't immediately answer. Instead, he pointed to the people standing in line, some of them already holding the small computer chips in their hands, ready to be implanted. "The cost," Jesus said, "is their connection to me, their souls. This technology promises to make people smarter, healthier, and more powerful. But it will also sever their spiritual connection, and in doing so, it will open the door for the enemy to control their hearts and minds." Luke felt a cold shiver run down his spine. But why would people do this? Why would they choose to lose their connection to God? "Because they don't understand what they're giving up," Jesus replied. "The world has become so focused on technology, on progress, that they've forgotten the importance of love, kindness, and the power of the human soul. They'll believe they are becoming better versions of themselves, but in reality, they are being manipulated." Luke looked at the people around him, the millions of faces staring at the screens, some already entranced by the chip's promises. It was terrifying to think that this would be the future for so many. But Jesus wasn't done. He moved closer, his presence enveloping Luke like a warm embrace. "Luke, this is why I've brought you here. You must understand that technology can never replace the human soul. It can never replace love, faith, and connection. The true power lies within us, the ability to choose kindness, to choose love, to choose to live in harmony with one another and with me." Luke didn't know what to say. His mind was racing with questions, but there was no time to ask them. Suddenly, everything around them shifted again. The golden field was gone, replaced by an image of the world as it would be in the future. He saw cities in the sky, people living in digital utopias, all connected to the machines, their minds linked together in ways unimaginable. But despite the futuristic setting, something felt wrong. The world was too perfect, too sterile. The people were no longer themselves. They were shadows of their former selves, their personalities subdued, their emotions dampened. "This is what awaits those who choose the chip," Jesus said. "A world where people no longer have the ability to choose freely. A world where they are controlled, manipulated by the very technology they believe will save them." Luke's stomach churned. He couldn't imagine a world like that. "But how do we stop it?" he asked. Jesus smiled, but this time it was not the same gentle smile as before. It was a look of determination, a look of someone who had seen the future and knew what needed to be done. "You, Luke," Jesus said, "have the power to change the future. You must share this message with others, make them see what is at stake. It is not technology that saves humanity, but the choices we make, the love we share, the light we choose to carry." The scene began to blur, and Luke felt himself being pulled back. The golden field, Jesus, and the visions of the future all faded away. His vision returned to the chaotic scene in the school cafeteria, where paramedics were still working on him. But now, he could see it clearly. He wasn't just a kid lying unconscious on the floor. He was part of something much bigger. His life, his choices, his story, all had a purpose. He wasn't sure how much time had passed, but when Luke opened his eyes again, he could hear the beeping of the machines around him. He was back, alive. And then the first thing he saw was his mom, dad, and little sister Emma standing by his side, tears streaming down their faces. "Luke?" his mom whispered, almost in disbelief. Luke smiled weakly. "I'm here," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "I'm here, and I've learned what matters."